All right, chapter 3. Now, as I go along here, it's very, very important that you guys remember if you're doing your own landscape drawing at home and you went out and you took my advice on the blog and you decided to go out and do your own little photo shoot this weekend, I guess I always mix Labor Day and Memorial Weekend up, both of them. This is a holiday weekend here in the U.S., so if you guys are watching this, maybe this weekend you want to go out and you want to do some photography of your own and you want to work along with me. The point that I'm trying to make here with all this talk that I'm doing is to do the process, the setup process. But once you do that setup process, don't just like throw it away and don't look at it again, or don't just put it like on your desk and out of sight, out of mind. You want to have it out and you want to look at it while you're doing this like little detail that I'm doing. I'm doing this like little detail right now, and it's very, very easy to lose sight of the big picture. And the big picture is the overall values, what I want the viewer to look at first, second, and third. And I just taped my process page, the page that I did in the first setup tutorial, on my wall so I can look at it readily and see, where I'm going with this, because you can get that tunnel vision and, you start going really black in like one section. You're like, wait a second, I didn't want to do this black. I should have paid attention to what I did in the first place. That kind of looked pretty good, and I forgot what I did in the first place because I put it in some kind of folder. I mean, I used to do that with my illustration jobs. I would get so much reference, and then I would do the painting, and after the painting, I'd be like, damn, I didn't even know I had that reference. I worked so hard to get it, and then I just worked on the painting, and I put all the reference away in a folder because I was ready to start painting, and I forgot, what I had. I forgot my color study and all that stuff. So basically, with this part of the foliage, or I should say grass, it's pretty short grass, but I'm setting us up. I'm putting down a base of this vertical pencil stroke. Very, very, very different than a lot of the tutorials that I've done. I mean, I've done a couple of figure drawings with the vertical pencil stroke, but for the most part, I'm doing that squirrely, continuous line stuff, and I'm not doing so much of this type of stroke. The reason why I'm doing this type of stroke is just because it's the base for the grass, and the grass grows upright like this in most cases when it's short, and then when it gets a little longer, it's going to start to bend over a little bit. So I'm just laying this foundation, lots of soft edges. Again, I'm going to come back later and I'm going to pull some stuff out with my kneaded eraser. Now the other thing is I'm working off of my projection, and now I changed things up, and I incorporated the perspective line. So I want to have this perspective line. So I got to bring this down there. And then lift it up. Okay, so I put in the base of the rolling hills. I think I made the decision that I'm going to do rolling hills and foliage and some trees in front. Believe it or not, there's a cool little trunk right over here. I just picked that up. Yeah, so let me get that in. But do you see how this is starting to unfold now? It's all about the layering. It's all about the soft edges. And it's also about no straight lines. I got to be very careful with straight lines in this drawing. There should be absolutely no straight lines because, number one, everything is old. Everything is organic wood, and it's old wood. I mean, this is called Old Bethpage, which is a town in Long Island, Bethpage, Long Island, Old Bethpage Village Restoration. So what they try to do with the buildings in this place is they were transferred here, but if they do renovations on them, they don't use power tools. They use old, world tools, and it's all handcrafted wood. So you're not going to have the straightest edge as if you were using like a modern day type power tool. So even the fence posts, I saw the way that they were making them there. They're really, really rough. So I want to just make sure that I don't have any straight lines, and I think it's crucial. I'll never forget there was a great teacher that I had briefly, Erwin Greenberg, I believe his name was. He was an old watercolor painter, and I brought in a painting to show him, and I always remember him saying that the trees look too straight. They look synthetic. They didn't look organic. You gotta, find a way to make trees that look like they're going straight up and down, have some kind of character to their edge. So make sure, even when you're doing these fence posts, if you decide to do this drawing, if you don't have time to go out and do your own photography, make sure you do the fence posts a little bit more organic, meaning no straight lines anywhere. That is the one thing this tutorial will have in common with figure drawing, is the organic aspect of it. And I'm going to do my best on the next landscape tutorial, because I'm going to try to do 3 or 4 of these for you, to do a complete different medium. I was thinking about doing an acrylic base wash, and then going on top of that with pencil, and then going on top of that with white pencil. I gotta see, or I might just use like an ink with a brush, put down a base, and I'm also considering doing one in Photoshop for you guys, so I don't do the landscape drawing tutorials all the same way. I want to give you like a little bit of variety, but I think it's very cool to be able to do this stuff just with a pencil. And this is like the perfect underdrawing setup. I want to make sure I'm not getting in this camera, for an underpainting. I mean, ideally, when I was younger and I didn't have a family and I didn't have much of a life, this is how I used to do my under drawings for my underpaintings, and you'd never see the beautiful drawing because I would paint on top of it. But the painting would go by really cool, really fast, and some of these lines that I'm putting in would actually show through. I know I've talked about this on Painting Girls in the illustration process, but it's the same holds true for this landscape. Even more so, some of these lines would come through in the painting. Now let me just get a sharper pencil. Here we go. Now I don't really want to talk too much about dates, because this video could be around for a long time, and I don't want to confuse anyone with time frames, but it is September and we're just about ready to start a new semester of school at SVA. I'm going to start next Monday, and next Tuesday, my first Tuesday foundation class. So this is awesome practice, because I'm going to be going back to doing the tutorials in front of the class, and that's always a little nerve-wracking when you haven't drawn in a while. So this is awesome practice for me to be set up for doing that for the students. Now, this is coming along. I'm digging it, and it's just very tedious. This is why I don't want to film the whole thing. But you guys can see with some of my pencil strokes how I'm moving, and I'm looking at all the grass over here, and all the grass, yes, there's like little nuances. I'm going to do some of that later with my kneaded eraser. I'm just putting down a base so I actually have something to use my kneaded eraser to pull out with. Something to pull out, I should say. And I'm going to put in a thicker piece of wood. One of these pieces of wood is like a light gray. Now I purchased the new iPhone, and I know that some of you PC people just rolled your eyes. But the only reason why I purchased the new one is because I want to film in class very informally during the breaks some of my students' drawings, and show you what they're doing, what we're doing for the day. And I think it's going to be a nice little bonus for the website, so you guys can see what I'm doing on day one. And I think it's going to be cool, and I think it's going to be cool to see what some of the other students are actually doing. So I'm very excited about that. And yeah, I just lost my Mac password, so I already tried to upload some videos, and I don't want to get a whole new password, so I really got to find out what I did with that. Alright, so I hope that you're liking the way that this is coming out. It's at the beginning stages, and it's very soft, and you want to have lots of patience, and you want to have lots of soft edges, but many sharp pencils for this. So this is where I'd use a dull pencil. Again, I'm laying in the base for what could be trees or the rolling hills. There's one or two little whites over here, but I'm looking at my compositional shape, looking at my 3-value study, all of this needs to be knocked down. You don't want to work in a vacuum. You want to remember your overall compositional shape. So temporarily I could like ruin some of the stuff that I just did, but I'm also trying to think of the whole. And so this is really good because you've got your roadmap. Okay, so let's move on to chapter number 4.